welcome to Pots, Pans, and Pioneers. Today I'm going to be making meatball sandwiches, and we're first going to get started with the meatballs. This is going to be an Italian meatball. Normally I have at least a half a pound of pork to put in here, ground pork, but I don't have any today, so that'll be an alternative. You could, instead of using the 2 pounds of ground meat, you could use half pork and half beef, and that would also make a good flavorful meatball. This is organic beef and it's 85% lean, so it's going to have some fat, so the meatballs will be juicy and not really dry. So here's what I'm going to add. I've got celery in the bottom of the bowl that was frozen from last year's garden. I'm going to be putting in some bell pepper, and this bell pepper has been grated, so it's very, very, very fine. I'm going to be sprinkling some oregano. I'm going to be using the rest of, looks like the rest of my Italian breadcrumbs. And you can make Italian breadcrumbs with just organic loaf of bread, some garlic powder, oregano, basil, and some thyme. It's really easy to make Italian breadcrumbs. I'm going to do a teaspoon of minced garlic. I'm going to do some dried onion. So I cook with dehydrated onion, but fresh onion is the obvious better choice. I'm going to be using some organic Dijon mustard, just a little bit, in here to bring out the beef flavor. I'm going to be using some good old Cajun seasoning, and I use Cajun seasoning on a lot of things just because I grew up with it, but you don't necessarily have to add that ingredient. This is organic cumin, just a few shakes of cumin. I'm going to add a pinch of salt. I don't want these to be salty when they're cooking, because if you add salt to taste in the beginning of this recipe, as they're cooking, the salt draws out the moisture, and I don't really want to do that. And then I'm going to be using some grated Parmesan and Romano blend of grated cheese. I'm going to do a tablespoon of that. Just a tablespoon, and I'm just going to shake it all around. I absolutely love meatball sandwiches on occasion. My husband prefers meatball and pasta, so I might make those separately for him. Then we're going to add an egg. Save your eggshells for your garden. Then what we're going to do is we're going to get our hands in here and we're going to make the meatballs. And as I'm making the meatballs, I'm going to be putting them in a, let me move this out of the way. I'm going to be making the meatballs, I'm going to be moving them to a 13, one of the big glass, you know, baking pans I have. I think it's a 10 by 13, and I'm just going to get as many meatballs as I can. It doesn't matter if they're sticking to each other or not, because they're going to roast in the oven. I've got my oven preheated for 450 degrees. So let's get in here and make the meatballs, and when we come back I'll show you how I arrange them and the size and everything. So we'll be back. We've got our meatballs all finished and completed. As you can tell, there's some small and some kind of larger ones. I've done them in all sort of sizes. I'm going to cook them all down. They're going to shrink because it's 85% lean meat, and I'm going to cook them for 30 minutes, or actually 20 minutes on one side, and I'm going to flip them. I'm going to go into the oven and flip them over, and I'm going to cook them probably another 10 to 15 minutes on the other side. But for the first 15 minutes, I'm going to cover them with aluminum foil, and we're going to roast them in the oven. That way they're really getting done from the inside out. I don't want any raw meatballs. So because we are going to take these and put them on the stove and do our marinara sauce and get them all in the sauce cooking for at least 30 minutes before we eat them. These are awesome after you roast them, to put them in a crock pot and let the sauce cook on them for a couple of hours. I don't have that kind of time, but if this were Saturday and I was doing that, that's exactly what I would do. So that's just a suggestion. Anyway, I'm going to get these in the oven, and I will be back when they're all nice and roasted. Okay, now we've got the meatballs out of the oven, and what I'm going to do is just start moving them to a saucepan. This is a quick and easy way. Again, if you wanted them to cook all day, I wouldn't recommend it just because they fall apart, but at least a couple of hours in the crock pot with your canned spaghetti sauce or marinara sauce, these are going to turn out just yummy. Whoops, it's my oven timer. So I'm going to add these, and the fat is going to be left in this pan over here. And I'm going to turn this on, probably a medium high. Get all of my meatballs in here. And today, just because I'm in a hurry, I'm going to use an organic jarred sauce. And this is just from the organic store, and it's just tomato basil. And we're just going to pour this tomato basil sauce. I'm going to put a little bit of water in there with it. And we're going to let this sauce cook with the meatballs probably at 20 minutes. And it's going to be enough time to really get the sauce implemented with the meat. Just going to give this a quick stir. Make sure all the sauce is and I don't want this to be on a high heat because it'll burn on you. I'm just wanting the sauce to heat through the meat. And that's it. So it's a medium to medium high. And then once this starts to bubble, then we'll turn it down even lower and let it cook the remainder of the 20 minutes. At this stage, I'm gonna sprinkle just a pinch of salt because I've added tomato, just to make sure that there's enough flavor in there. Okay, we're going to let this cook for about 20 minutes, and then we're going to assemble our meatball sandwiches. Okay, so we'll be back. I have, today we're just going to be using just regular sub rolls, but you could use homemade rolls if you wanted to. You could absolutely do that. I'm going to put the meatballs in the sandwich. And all we're going to do is we're going to top them with smoked mozzarella cheese. Okay. Now if you wanted to, you could stick these in a broiler and have all your cheese broil and melt. I like it like this. It'll sit here and it'll melt before I plate it up. So anyway. Okay, there's our meatball sandwiches. Thanks for joining us today for this recipe. Please like our videos, share with someone that you know, and subscribe for more recipes. Everybody have a great day.